Today we have Diana Christiansen with the Atticus Group, and she's the CEO. You've been doing this a while, right?
Yes, I have. I actually started the company in 2004 to address the nursing shortage.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Yes.
It's still a big deal, isn't it?
No, actually, now it's taking about 18 months for a new graduate RN to get a first job. So obviously I had to reorganize and focus a little more on the retirement vulnerability in healthcare and the new reimbursement that is coming around.
So what happened to the nursing shortage?
What happened with the nursing shortage is that the colleges did a great job of scaling up, and hospitals partnered with them, which was what I was doing at the time, was partnering hospitals and nursing schools to expand the number of slots in a nursing school.
Oh, wow.
And so what we did is we managed to double the number of graduates. And what happened is that the economy went bad, which meant a lot of people didn't retire. A lot of people came back into the workforce.
Oh.
And so as a result, we have an absolute glut of new graduate RNs that cannot find work.
I am shocked.
Yes.
I am shocked. It's, wow. In my mind, I still thought that there was a nursing shortage. And
everybody does, but there's a shortage of experienced nurses in specialty areas.
Oh, I see.
New graduate, though, there are hundreds,
and
thousands.
We're talking RNs?
RNs. Both bachelor's prepared and associates prepared are having about probably an 18-month cycle. And that's tough because they're brand new. They're losing their information. They're losing their clinical skills.
But isn't there other opportunities for them? Skilled nursing facilities or lower level?
Well, yes, there are, but then they cannot practice in their RN scope of service.
Oh, wow.
And, there's a lot of LVNs and CNAs out there, and those people are taking the jobs in the skilled nursing facilities. So the RN's really kind of overqualified, and they know that she'll or he'll leave as soon as the right job comes along.
So how long has there been a glut?
Probably about 3 years. And so there's a lot of call for doing things like called transition to practice programs and different things to try to keep those skills, because a lot of these new graduate RNs who, when they entered school, they actually were giving away a house down payment, a car down payment. You probably saw some of those things. And when they finished school, there was just no employment for them. So they're going into other fields even. And it's cyclical.
But that's a major shift.
It's a major shift, yes. And it was a major shift for my company.
Wow. So
obviously, hospitals didn't have to partner with nursing schools and pay to have those slots developed.
So tell me, what does the Atticus group do?
So what the Atticus group does now is focuses on talent management and transformational leadership development.
Okay. Those are pretty big words. I'm not quite sure what that means.
That's true for most healthcare CEOs, actually.
Right.
Talent management is, and actually transformational leadership development are things that Disney, Nordstrom, Ritz-Carlton, any service industry has known all about, and they actually build their whole company around talent management, transformational leadership development. And this is all new to healthcare. Healthcare knew it was important to begin to take a look at who they hire, why they hire them, making sure that leaders are identified and trained well.
Right.
But they always thought of it as, well, there's too many things more important than that. That's expensive. We won't go there. But now with Affordable Care Act, there's incentives, in fact, to focus on those things.
Because there's a lot more customer relationship management going on.
Yes, absolutely.
And the staff is such an important key element to the CRM that if they don't do it, they're not going to get the outcomes they want.
Right. And now these patient satisfaction scores are tied to their reimbursement, and it's increasing every year. And it's transparent. So all these scores now are on the internet, both their clinical scores and their patient satisfaction scores. So you can check your hospital out and see how they're doing.
Isn't that great?
It's really great.
It's great for the consumer.
Absolutely.
Because there was so much behind the scenes stuff that was done for so long.
Right.
Okay, so, but more specifically, what does the Atticus Group do? Okay, so transformational leadership, those are, in my mind, I think of Oprah.
Mm-hmm.
She was a transformational leader. And I think of big, but how do you create transformational leadership for people on a unit? Or you're doing it for RNs, I'm assuming.
Actually, it's for everybody, and I just
Oh.
sort of did a niche for RNs because that's what I knew. So, to answer your question, what does the Atticus Group do? Well, first of all, we have to come into an organization because hospitals do not have a defined culture of service.
Right.
So, we would do a strategic planning meeting with the leaders and help them define that culture. And then they don't communicate their culture very well. So, those are two key things that we would have to help them do is first define the culture, then put systems and processes in place to make sure that they're hiring to their culture, promoting to their culture, and communicating their culture.
So you include the HR department,
Absolutely.
and then you include, because, so you're doing organizational behavioral management techniques to increase efficiency and effectiveness of the healthcare organization?
Well, for example, one of the very innovative things we do is something called a unique success profile. And what that does is it helps the hospital, to say, for example, an RN.
Right.
They have an idea of what the perfect RN, they have this person, Susie Smith is the best RN. Okay, well, I would go in there and say, why? And then we break in their knowledge. What is her skills?
Right.
What are her attitudes? What are her behaviors? And what we find out that in terms of patient satisfaction scores, knowledge and experience are things that really aren't that important anymore. Skills can be taught.
Right.
Behaviors and attitudes, things like being able to manage change, things like motivation, inspiration, integrity. These are things that you can hire for. These are things that you can cultivate in young leaders.
Right.
Very difficult to teach. So I help them design profiles around what they're looking for every single one of their professional roles. Tie those to their organizational goals, like increasing patient satisfaction
Right.
scores, improving profitability, and in fact, then we come up with a profile that we can make a job description out of. Performance evaluations are tied to it. Their whole recruitment and interviewing process, all tied to this unique success profile.
That's very cool. Yeah, the more the more that you organize the entire corporation to work together, the better it's going to be. Wow.
Absolutely.
And it's cutting edge because with the meaningful use changes and the outcomes, this how patients perceive their experience, and a lot of the perception is is the moment or when they meet with the patients.
Absolutely. And what we found is that patient experience scores, everyone kind of tries to put people in a class and give them a script and,
Right.
Mrs. So-and-so, but that is not what increases scores.
Right.
What increases scores is a heart-to-heart interaction and then telling stories in the organization about these moments so that everybody understands. So, for example, Dr. Feinberg from UCLA,
Right.
they took their scores by focusing on a culture of service from the 33rd percentile to the 99th percentile.
Uh-huh.
And they said, how did you do that? And he said, well, you know what? All we did is just give people permission and then we tell the stories about these interactions. And he told us the story about a valet who saw a woman in her car who was crying. And the valet went, said, we can't let you leave. You're obviously upset. They took her into a room, got her soup. It was raining that day. And they just helped her until she felt better before she left. And those are the kinds of stories that improve patient satisfaction scores and then in turn double the margin, increase philanthropy by exponential amounts, and market share. And so it's these heart-to-heart, one patient at a time experiences that actually drive scores and profit in a healthcare organization.
And you're pretty good at this.
I think so. There's not a lot of competition out there, so.
Well, it's very good. It's exactly what's needed in the healthcare, especially now.
Yes.
And so, and is there anything else that you want to tell us about the Atticus Group?
I think that the Atticus Group is probably going to be innovative no matter what is changing in healthcare, because healthcare does change daily.
Okay.
But what I can guarantee is that this company will always have a lot of new ideas that haven't been considered before and that no one else is doing yet, including using social media to communicate throughout your organization.
Oh, that would be great. And then is there a way to contact you? How would, and so you would be looking for what person in a hospital organization should,
The CEO.
straight to the top?
Straight to the top, because an organization is only going to be as good as the CEO. It has to be the CEO's vision. They have to live it every day, because what they do, their senior staff will do, their middle management will do, and right down the organization.
And they're the ones that set the culture.
They set the culture.
And because you're culture based, the CEO is the one that's got to buy into the whole project
Absolutely.
and the importance. So you're looking for the CEOs of the hospitals,
Mhm.
and is it other organizations, just hospitals at this point?
It's really any organization, because when it comes down to it, any company, whether it's healthcare or hotel industry or restaurant,
Right.
everything boils down to service and how your customer is treated.
Because I would think that you would be especially important to accountable care organizations, which would be, not only the hospital, but the whole virtual base or foundation health plans.
Right.
I think that would be even as important to the hospital, who would be the, like the Macy's in a strip mall. But
Right.
you'd have all, because they're all working together now. So I think the
Yes.
accountable care organizations would also, you'd be valuable for them.
Absolutely, very much so. And one of the reasons that patient experience scores go down is often not, for example, what the hospital does, but the handoff when they go to the skilled nursing facility.
Right.
Accountable care organizations are all about integration.
That's
And
right.
when we have to look at all those touch points and where people enter the system, from the phone call right on through to discharge and into home care. So it's all
Because on
important.
an accountable care organization, aren't you putting diverse groups of people? Like, you're gonna have a surgeon that's used to working by himself, and you're gonna have a person that's used to working by themselves. And so, and what they have to create is a cultural all together.
Right.
And so that would even be a bigger challenge for the Atticus group, because now it's not just, the enormous task of trying to help a hospital, but now it's the even more enormous task of working with a surgeon and a family practitioner and a pediatrician who never worked together, and trying to
Absolutely.
figure their culture and trying to create an overall virtual culture.
Exactly.
Oh my
And
gosh.
team building is absolutely an essential skill right now. You have to be able to get all these people, we call it an interprofessional team or an interprofessional approach. And you've got to have all the people you just mentioned communicating and on the same team, and the CEO has to have them all moving in the same direction.
Wow.
But they've got to know where that direction is.
They've got to know, and that's an enormous task.
Yes, it is.
And they can't do it on their own.
No.
There's just no way. They have
No.
to have an outside group, because they're too close to it.
They don't know what they don't know at this point.
And they don't have the experience, and you're one of the few that can do this.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. No, it looks like you're going to have an incredible few years ahead of you, or as long as it lasts. It's great.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the CEO of maybe the accountable care organizations,
Mhm.
and then the CEO of hospitals, how do they get a hold of you?
They go to either theatticusgroup.com,
Okay,
and they can contact me through my website or our company's website.
okay.
And of course, they can always call me on my mobile phone or
And what happens when they call? What's the next step? What would be when they call you or they get a hold of you? I'm sure you call right back, and
absolutely.
you go over and you kind of do an evaluation.
Right. The first thing I would do is want to come over and talk to them about what are their existing resources.
Right.
Because everybody has a great deal already in place. Usually there's just some gaps, and that's what I would help them identify. First of all, define the culture, and then what do you have in place already,
Right.
and then where are the gaps, what can we build on,
And
and I help them develop those systems and processes.
Wow, that's great. Well, that's all the time we have for today, and it was great to have you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, Gary.